Hey nerds, we are going to do a review and breakdown of the last two episodes of And Just Like That, episodes 8 and 9, starting now. Welcome back to Nerd Social. I am Colin. So apologies for the lateness of my episode 8 review and breakdown. I was on vacation, and the title of episode 8 is Happily Ever After, and the title of episode 9, which aired yesterday, is called Present Tense. They're both written by Julie Rottenberg and Elisa Zuritsky, and both are directed by Anu Valia. So the spoiler-free log line of episode 8 was Carrie attempts to work on notes with Duncan while Aidan is in town for a visit. LTW tries to tamp down a growing attraction. The episode 9 logline was while Carrie is forced to confront lingering trust issues in her relationship, Miranda finally opens up to joy. Later, Seema tries something new. So, spoiler-free thoughts. First of all, episode 8 was a slow burn, but maybe there's a turning of the corner between Aidan and Carrie. It's slowly getting there. I don't know why it's taking so long. Seema and Adam are getting along, but there's a smelly problem that's coming about. Lisa has her temptation in the editing room that's been boiling up since the last couple of episodes. Charlotte and Harry dealing with old age while Miranda is navigating her new relationship with Joy. In terms of rating, I would give episode 8 a 7 out of 10 dinner party because it's very run-of-the-mill. The last few episodes, don't know where it was going, and one of my friends had already given up watching this new chapter of Sex and the City. I'm still going to stick to it because I'm a completist at heart, so I'm going to see how it all turns out. But the thing was, for episode 9, it probably was the best episode of this season so far. I think that Gia, who is Giuseppe's mother, finally lets loose, and it was great to see that Herbert's is still running for office. This is one of the frustrations that I have about it because they tend to drop storylines and then they bring it back up for no reason whatsoever. I've done campaigns before, and campaigns are 24/7. He shouldn't be around. There should be handlers left and right. Now, I'm not expecting the writers or the producers to know all the inner workings of a political campaign, and they really haven't addressed any of that. And yes, I know it's a B storyline, but still, there's no authenticity to it because he's just lounging around for 3 episodes, and then you just bring it up for no reason. The juiciest stuff is near the end of the episode as ghosts from the past haunts Carrie and Aidan's relationship. I have gone back to watch the end of season 4 of Sex and the City, and it really is very surreal to watch the storyline that happened near the end of season 4 of Sex and the City to episode 9 of And Just Like That. So in terms of rating, I would give this episode a 9 out of 10. I like the fact that there's some resolution between Carrie and Aidan. Also, toward the end of this episode, there was a hint of a coming out party for fans of the original Sex and the City. And is it something that is going to be what they really truly want? It felt like that, but I'll get to it when we get to the spoiler breakdown. And on a side note, I'm on to season 5 of Sex and the City. So I've noticed that there's a certain flow that happens in the originals with the typing on the laptop by Carrie, with the monologues. This show is very inconsistent in that regard. Now, I don't know if they made that an intention to make it so inconsistent. I just believe that it's just on and off. And it's just so weird to me that they try to not match the original because they're older. I get that. And yes, people are older. But I think that you're missing some of that magic from the original that's there. And maybe adding back the monologue, maybe adding that she's typing on the laptop, but she's in a different point of her life as well. So maybe that was a choice onto itself as to not doing the laptop writing at the end. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts. If you like to hear what I have to say about And Just Like That and other content we put out there, please like, share, and subscribe for more. We really appreciate your support, and we are growing really rapidly as a channel. And we also have a website, thenerdsocial.org, so please check that out for all of our analysis as well as some articles that will be coming up soon on the website. So without further ado, spoilers ahead for And Just Like That, season 3, episode 8 and 9. Okay. So we start off with the reunification of the Aidan and Carrie relationship. And again, they gave a very good excuse as to why he's back into her life. Now, we left off at the fact that they were separated. There was the Virginia visit that Carrie made, and it was a disaster. And so Aidan finally had an excuse to move in because his youngest son, Wyatt, is now living with his mother. So it gives Aidan a lot of time. But even that, he was very coy at the beginning as to why he came back. And they wanted to spend one night together. It sounded almost as though it was like a reality show where you're not upfront. It just bothers me this whole time. And I think that Carrie has really did evolve as she's gotten a little bit older. In terms of this relationship, she's gotten a little bit older and wiser about what has happened. I don't think she's trying to make the same mistakes as she did in the original, but Aidan is definitely making the same mistakes, and we'll see that later on as we move on to episode 9. The budding relationship between Duncan and Carrie, we thought that there were sparks in the very beginning, and that there was some type of possible cheating that might come into play, but Carrie has really held firm that it's strictly professional because she has someone. And even the fact that she has bent over backwards for Aidan when Aidan cheated on her, she has open runway to explore this relationship, but she really hasn't, out of respect. And so this is all going to come to the boil in episode 9. She expressly said to Aidan to not engage with Duncan and to not be neighborly and friendly to him because this is not the way that is supposed to work. And I think that's where some of the friction comes about, because Aidan is much more open and friendly and country, while Carrie is definitely more city, more career oriented, and those relationships can be much more professional and not personal. Seema, on the other hand, we know that she's in her relationship with Adam, and it's an odd couple relationship, and she finds out Adam doesn't wear deodorant. So he's working in the dirt, and he's much more of an organic guy. That some of the things that he does introduce is pretty good. It may help her change part of her lifestyle, because she's all about glam and fashion, while Adam is really not that type of thing. And so it will come to a head in the next episode. As for Elisa, she is in a world of trouble in this one. She's trying to justify to Charlotte about the flirting relationship. And so it comes to a head because Marion has this opportunity where he's meeting with one of the producers that works with the Obamas. And so Lisa has been trying very hard to get Michelle Obama to be on her documentary. And so Marion has a in on that and invited her to go to a screening of a movie with these producers. Tensions arise because not only this scene where Marion is seductively eating papaya, but also the scene later on where he puts his knee close to Lisa in a way where she is just so triggered. And I think a little bit of an overreaction, but I think it was inadvertent on Marion's part. Now, some people say otherwise. I think that he was not trying to get with her because he's also married as well. So I don't think that he's that type of guy, but they're both giving off vibes. And then there's a certain energy that's involved, like she said. So she is being very careful not to engage in that. And then kudos to the writers and to the producers not to engage in this type of tryst, because I don't think it's going to serve the character very well and serve Marion very well either. Miranda has her own relationship issues with Joy, as Joy has left a bottle of gin in Miranda's apartment. And so at the end of the episode 8, Miranda threw out the gin and also not trying to admit to Joy that she has an alcohol problem. How she doesn't know how to talk to Joy about it. And it was addressed in episode 9. So it was nice to have her being honest with Joy, and to have Joy do some self-reflection about her drinking habit as well. As for Charlotte, she has suffered from vertigo, and there's a very funny scene where she set up an art gallery. She sees Miranda holding some wine for Joy, and Charlotte's misunderstanding the fact that Miranda is just holding the alcohol, panics in the middle of a vertical episode and then falls onto the piece of art with the naked woman on it. So there is also a funny scene later on in episode 9 where the both of them are really just suffering. But I'm just thinking, where are the kids here? Why is it that they're not trying to ask the kids for help? I am not quite sure. That perplexes me a lot as to why they feel that they don't need any help. And obviously, they do need help. And then Charlotte's friend Anthony definitely has his own problems with his boyfriend Giuseppe's mother, Gia. Toward the end of the episode, Giuseppe suggests to Anthony to have dinner with his mother and to try to smooth things over between the two. So that's how episode 8 ended. And there was a lot of setup actually for the 9th episode. And we start off with the 9th episode of Carrie being very surprised that Aidan is trying to get to know Duncan. And so this reminds me, because I've been watching the original Sex and the City, of season 4 with Big and Aidan in the farmhouse upstate. And so they got into a huge fight. No punches were thrown in this encounter. But you can sense, because of what happened 25 years ago, that Aidan is not comfortable with the fact that Duncan is living downstairs and that he feels threatened, and he has all this post-trauma about Carrie cheating on him in the past. So there's some justification that he just wants to get to know him. But the way that he approaches it is not very cool. Even with Carrie's explicit instructions of not trying to engage with Duncan, he believes that Carrie's hiding something. But Carrie has already moved on from this. And it's been 25 years and he's still holding this grudge. And if they just communicated a little bit more and talked it out, it would have been smoothed over. But of course, this is a show. That's not going to happen that way. As for Miranda, she comes clean with her news to Joy that she is a recovering alcoholic, and that's the reason why she threw away the bottled gin. And as I mentioned earlier, Joy then does some self-reflection as to whether or not she should be drinking as well. It left Joy in a very vulnerable position, but at the same time, I think that it was very good of Miranda to be open about it and not let this come back into her life. It's very good to show that honesty is actually very important, and it may hurt in the short term, but in the long term, it may be a good thing for them both in the future. So, as I mentioned in episode 8, Giuseppe suggested to Anthony to make dinner and have peace with his mother, Gia. And so Gia is definitely in a different mood, and she does show vulnerability in the fact that she said she was very young and she married Giuseppe's father, who was very old. He passed away, and she became a nurse to Giuseppe's father, and she did not want Giuseppe to be in a position where Giuseppe had to be young and take care of Anthony, who is around his 60s. I think it was very unfair for Gia to put all of her insecurities onto Anthony and to make it seem it's all on Anthony, that it's his problem. She then broke away from the accent and did a New York accent. There was some funny moments there. Anthony then said that she reminded him of her aunt from Boston with a strong Boston accent. She was very remorseful that she ruined the dinner, but she was holding it enough while Giuseppe was walking in. When she had talked to her son in Italian, basically to leave Anthony and don't worry about it. There's definitely some bad blood between the two. And we'll see what happens to whether or not Giuseppe's still going to stay with them. I get the feeling that he's going to go against his mother's wishes and stay with Anthony. As for Charlotte and Harry, they're still trying to get through their recovery, as Charlotte is still at risk of vertigo and Harry is recovering from prostate surgery. As for Elisa, she has her own issues, and another issue comes up with Herbert. And as I mentioned in the spoiler-free part, Herbert's in the middle of a campaign, and he got very freaked out of the fact that he gained 1 pound. And so his wife just basically mentioned, maybe you should just be on a case if you're struggling with that. Everyone does it. I think that the writers and producers should have given more for Herbert to do, showing him on the campaign and not just telling us that he's on a campaign. It's just so frustrating that for 3 episodes, they didn't even mention that he's on a campaign. Nothing. And then now they mention it. It's so weird to me. And then also that his son made a fat joke about his father, which was played for laughs. Toward the end of this episode, this is where it gets very interesting. And so a lot of the ghosts from the past props up. This is where Aidan still has a lot of trust issues with Carrie. And even though Carrie has moved on and Carrie has done all that she can throughout this whole season to try to accommodate Aidan and to try to wait for him, and the fact that Aidan had cheated on her already, it's just way too much. And so it comes to a head where they finally realize they're not good for each other again. And I just saw that actually back in season 4 when they broke off the engagement. So again, this has happened, for different reasons. First of all, back in the original, it was because she felt rushed into it. While in this time, it was the trust issue. I think that they could have avoided all this if they communicated earlier, but I think they're coming on different intentions and they're on different points of their lives, very similar to the original. They were on different paths and they try to rekindle it. It doesn't work. We'll see if Aidan comes back. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out. In the meantime, Carrie finds out Seema has a new office space, and so this is really interesting there. Seema then goes to meet with a potential client and finds out that her deodorant does not work because she's been running uptown for 40 minutes because her new assistant messed up. So that was a very funny moment. Carrie, through all this bickering with Aidan, goes shoe shopping and then meets Aidan at the coffee shop. That's how they broke it all off. And it was pretty revealing, but also there's a final resolution. So this opens the door for Duncan. And we see in the preview for the season finale that there's maybe some spark happening between the two now that she's done with Aidan. This last scene of Carrie walking down the street, this is the scene that reminds me of Sex and the City and reminds me that the magic can still be there. So there was a monologue that happened, and then she was meeting up with Miranda, with Charlotte, and also with Seema, who's the new Samantha. And there's full circle moment that happens at the end of this episode, which was really great for fans of the original. So hopefully it goes back on track. And as my wife mentioned, they listen to the fans and finally they're doing it right this time. Because even throughout the season, they've had some fits and starts, and hopefully they're able to have some recollection of what makes the original great. I have really enjoyed actually watching the originals. In a lot of ways, it's still very fresh. Hopefully this episode is a jumping off point for something that could be great and could match the original in many ways. So those are my thoughts on And Just Like That season 3 episodes 8 and 9. Tell us what you think about this episode by commenting down below. Like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. And we will see you next video. All right. Take care, everybody.